In September 2025, students across Ontario will be learning Black history. Earlier this month, we learned the province was making it mandatory for Black history to be taught in grades 7, 8, and 10. In grades 7 and 8, students will mostly learn about pre-Confederation history, and for grade 10 students, they will be learning about Black Canadians post-Second World War. We have two guests this morning who will shed light on how this will look. Daniela Koppeser joins me in the studio. She is a social sciences curriculum consultant with the Windsor Essex Catholic Board. Part of her job is to curate resources to support classroom teachers during Black History Month. Good morning.
Good morning.
And joining us by the phone is Nicole Stella. She's a teacher at Stella Maris Catholic Elementary in Amherstburg. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning.
So, Daniela, why don't we start with you? You usually curate materials for the month. How is this going to look different for you if you're going to be looking for curriculum for both of these topics, correct? For this grade 7, 8, and grade 10 students.
That's right. So there has always been opportunities to incorporate Black history and perspectives in the curriculum. It's just that they've only been as suggested topics. So, for example, students in grade 7 and 8 and grade 10 history learn about interactions between different communities. They learn about some of the challenges that communities may have faced. So now that will be a mandatory expectation. So up until this time, it was up to educators to incorporate those topics and those resources.
And Nicole, how is this going to change things for you?
I'm actually really looking forward to the changes because there'll be more specific expectations for us in place. Right now, we try to keep it light. I teach grade 3. So my students, they really don't have much of a background knowledge for this. So trying to keep it to individuals, trying to teach them about individuals who they can relate to, telling the stories of young Black children, like Ruby Bridges, just to pique their interest and their curiosity.
But that's because you have an interest in teaching that. It's not because it's mandatory, right?
That is true, yes. There's no mandatory things in place as of now, except that we are to promote Black History Month. So we try to do that to make it exciting for the kids in the classroom, using as many different activities as we can. For instance, in this classroom, we may do, we'll be studying some Black artists, and we'll incorporate their techniques into pieces of their own. Or we will work on biographies where students will study Black Canadians from a list of Black Canadians so that they can make the choice and then, use their oral communication skills to make some presentations. So still keeping it light, but, exposing them to some very significant Black people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've done a lot of tours this month, if you've been listening to the show, with a lot of historians. And a lot of the time, I'm humbled because I was never taught this. And the only reason I'm learning it is because I have an interest in it and I have to seek it out myself. But I do find it hard to find the information. And that's been part of the battle I've had as an adult. I'll see something, I'm like, wow, there must be a history to that. I Google it, nothing shows up. And then I learn later it's part of Black history, but it's not documented anywhere. So I wonder, Daniela, is this something that you face trying to curate some of this material, is actually locating some of the history?
Well, it's interesting. There was a project called Blacked Out History by the Ontario Black History Society, and they took a grade 8 textbook and they blacked out any non-Black history. And of the 233 pages that were in the textbook, only 13 pages remain. So you're right, it hasn't been a history that has been well represented. So in terms of looking for resources, I think first I want to situate myself as a white educator. And I think it's really important to know that I don't have that lived experience. I'm not an expert in history, not Black local history. So I think it's really important to be intentional and critical about the resources that we're using. So when we're looking at resources, we want to ensure, are they telling affirming stories? Are they telling a truthful story? I think sometimes there's a challenge when the history has been told, it's been a very single story, a story of oppression. And I think it's important that we want to balance that with stories that are affirming, with stories that are joyful, stories about Black joy and brilliance. And I think actually the theme of this month's Black History Month is Black excellence. So for me, it means, I guess, being really critical about thinking about my positionality and then thinking about how important it is to be able to center Black voices in this, because I'm thinking about when we talk about Black history, we're not just talking about topics and people, but we're really talking about the Black experience. And so I think that's why it's so important to be very critical about the resources that we're using and to center Black voices.
I like that you position us because we are three white women having this conversation, and I find when I do these stories, I have to quickly check myself at the door. And I've learned so much about humbling myself in that experience and also stating my ignorance when I see it. Is that something that you constantly have to do daily, especially preparing for Black History Month?
Absolutely. I feel like it's important to always think about, what do I know? What do I not know? What have I learned? And what do I need to unlearn? And I feel like that's something, that self-reflection is really important to ensure that you teach about it in a good way.
Yeah. And Nicole, how does that play a role in what you do?
My kids get the message immediately that we're all learning together. I don't have all the answers. And, we try to use our research tools the best that we can. And it is so true. I'm just learning as much as they are. I don't recall having these experiences through my school education, right? So, and I'm very, very interested in the topic. So I'm motivated.
Yeah.
And we are lucky because there are resources that are out there. Fellow educators make resources to make things easier for each other. Our school board website has a great set of links for us to access information. They also provided us with a series of mentor texts that we can use in the classroom to tell the stories of these individuals. So, just letting my kids know that we are all in this together, and just letting them know that, I'm in the same boat that they are.
Yeah. And I think it's also, for me, I feel a certain sense of responsibility that I'm raising two kids, that they learn history the way it should be told and be on the right side of history. But then I also feel a bit of guilt that I didn't learn it properly. And I'm wondering if that's sort of where you're at. I mean, you're teaching it the right way, but you've learned it differently. And I think you said unlearn.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes just saying these things out loud, explaining segregation to them, it's an emotional thing for them. It's an emotional thing for me just to say these things out loud, to hear them and to watch their reactions. We're actually very lucky to be able to deliver this to them. Consider myself very fortunate to be in this role. And obviously February is an exciting time because we don't just limit this experience to them, just to this month. We do try to make this month very memorable and full of unique activities so that next year they're looking forward to it as well.
Yeah. I mean, the little ones who come into the month aren't necessarily the same little ones that leave the month. I feel that way with my own experience every Black History Month. I'm wondering how much local history plays a role in some of the curriculum. I don't know, Daniela, if you want to take that.
Sure. So the curriculum is provincial, so it will be more general. So it is up to our individual boards to localize the curriculum. And I feel like not knowing is such a powerful opportunity for learning. And we have the benefit with this new curriculum comes funding, where there will be supporting resources for educators. But we have such a rich local Black history I'm learning here in Windsor, Essex, and such an active community of historians who have been doing and preserving this history through stories, through curriculum, through documentaries. So I do want to lift up the work of Irene Moore Davis and Chantel Browning Moore, who have been so generous with sharing resources to be able to share these stories, these local stories, with our students.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you to Daniela Koppeser, who came into our studio. She's a social science curriculum consultant with the Windsor Essex Catholic Board. And Nicole, Stella on the line, thank you. She's a teacher at Stella Maris Catholic Elementary in Amherstburg. Thanks so much, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
They're joining us to talk about mandatory Black Canadian history coming to schools in 2025. What